Hey, it is rolling. It's a pre-record, folks. Very, very sorry. I wanted to go live today, and then the gym that I train at sprung this party on me, so I got to go to that. We had one last night too, and I'm fucking exhausted. I take this ZMA. It's a zinc supplement before I go to sleep at night, and it helps you get it's really nice deep sleep. And I ran out of it. I came home from the gathering last night, and I went to take my ZMA before I went to sleep, and there was none left in the bottle. So I slept like shit after a somewhat exhausting week. So here I am, and I have another gathering at a different gym. It's the end of the challenge. They do a challenge for the members, and at the end of it, they have a party. So a few times a year, I get one of these weekends where there are like multiple parties going on. And who doesn't love a party? Everyone loves a party, right? I have my proud college alumni Muhlenberg College sweatshirt on, and I'm a college alumni who loves a party. Some people are gonna really get that joke. Other people are gonna be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Okay, so before we get going, the usual reminders. Twitter at Mike Montone, Instagram at Gary_Moyler, Moyler, and YouTube at Mike's Golden Streams. And let's take a peek, see what's going on. I got all the important stuff out of the way? Okay. OJ Simpson. Hey, YouTube world, it's yours truly. It is yours truly no more. OJ Simpson has left this earth. He has departed the earthly realm. How about that? Um, the biggest fucking news story from my childhood before 9/11. I was trying to figure out it was either I had a big childhood for news stories. I had the Lewinsky sucking Clinton's dick. We had OJ. Woodstock when the kids burned it down, TWA Flight 800, a lot of big news stories. It's weird. It's interesting now. I mean, I guess the kids now with January 6th, they got a huge one. But and maybe all the mass shootings. We had Columbine was when I was growing up. I don't know. I don't Are mass shootings a big news story anymore? Some virgin takes a Glock into a community college classroom and gets even. And it gets like 30 seconds on the evening news. If it wasn't local to your area, nobody gives a shit. That's wild that we've gotten to that point with those, that people are such fucking psychos in America. But yeah, OJ Simpson. I remember when I was growing up, I was playing Pee Wee football, and everyone wanted number 32 for OJ. It was amazing how he allegedly, well, not criminally responsible for murdering two people, but was at least implicated in the murders and accused and tried. And kids everywhere were like, I want to be number 32. I remember the day we were going to get our jerseys, saying that I wanted to get number 32. And my friend's dad was a detective, and he was dropping us off at practice, and he was just disgusted. He was disgusted that I wanted to be number 32. Someone else got it. A kid a year older than me got it. So I waited until the next season when that guy had moved up to the next level, and then I was in the oldest class for they group the youth sports by age, and I used my seniority to get number 32. Juice. But yeah, that was I remember fourth grade, and fourth grade I think was when the verdict came down. So it would have been probably in third grade when the murder happened and all of that. Um, yeah, Orenthal James. I mean, he became such a I don't know. I mean, so I mean, he was already a celebrity, but like after he got out from the kidnapping and the memorabilia thing, and he got on Twitter and he was on the golf courses and he was like partying in Florida. Um, it almost felt like there was a little bit of a John Gotti to him, where he was this nefarious character, but people kind of liked him and they kind of wanted to be near him, and you'd see him taking pictures with like all these 20-year-old blonde chicks out at clubs and stuff, and he looks like he's having a great time, and he's playing fantasy football and eating sushi. I mean, he looked, they said I saw a few pictures of him walking with a cane from like March or something like that, but it seemed like he looked pretty good. Right up until the end. I guess, he got prostate cancer. And if prostate cancer apparently very treatable if you're screened and you find it early, apparently no problem. You got to get gotta let him poke around back there after you reach a certain age. Um, but I guess he must have deteriorated very quickly, which is always a scary thing to think about, right? Because you think about being dead, and you're like, well, if you're dead, you're just not here. Like you were prior to being born, you have no recollection of that. You're just like, oh, it's nothing. It was non-existent. It's the process of becoming frail and ill and being like, this is it, you're on the downward slide. Like, there is no potential for health for you again. You are going to decay, and it is only a matter of time. And of course, look, we're all made of organic material, so we are all at this very moment decaying. And we can only, we can do things like drink filtered water to help push off that decay a little bit, but it's coming for all of us. So OJ Simpson has left. He has left the party. Wild. I mean, obviously, he wasn't a young guy, but he wasn't incredibly old either. But it's interesting seeing, because he grew up in the 90s, and I feel like I guess you'll always identify with the decade where you were in, elementary school through high school. Like I graduated high school in 03. So really my school-aged years were the 90s, with a little bit of hangover there. So everything, the things I associate and think of are all 90s, early 2000s. Those will always feel contemporary to me. Even though, obviously we're, 20, 30 years after the fact for all of that stuff now. So yeah, it's just there is a surreal feeling to see OJ gone. It doesn't feel like I woke up this morning and it didn't feel like I was living in a world without OJ Simpson. Yeah, fare thee well, Juice, wherever you wind up, and you know, I if the real killer is out there, he must be breathing a sigh of relief right now, knowing that OJ is no longer here to hunt him, because hunting him to the ends of the earth he was. Covering a lot. That's a lot of ground to cover between Las Vegas and Florida. What else? What else happened in the interim while we were gone? The eclipse. Oh, the eclipse. The solar eclipse. I watched, for a couple minutes. My the lady that I hang out with, that who occupies a lot of my free time, got her hands on a couple of those eclipse glasses, so I had to go. I was down in Florida, and then I came back, and I had my car parked over at her place to avoid alternate side parking. And we watched it for a few minutes, and I was like, all right, it's whatever. It feels cloudy, and there's something, if you look up at the sun, you see something covering it. I felt like the hype around it was bullshit. And I saw the videos from Totality and everything, and it got dark, and it's like, okay, but you've been outside at night. Like, we lose sight of the sun every day. Every day we lose sight of the sun. It got dark for a few minutes. People interviewed on the news, they're going, "Oh, oh, oh my God, you can feel it. I can feel it in me. Oh my God, totality." And it felt like such a put on. It felt like a lot of idiots drove to upstate New York. They spent hours and hours on the road sitting in traffic. One lady fucking, I think she like died. I think she was in a trailer, and the door like flew open and she got pulled out onto the roadway, and she died. So I think people had to justify the fact that they did all this bullshit to watch it go get dark for 3 minutes, and realize they just could have stayed home and waited until nighttime and enjoyed the exact same thing for 8 hours. And I think they leaned into pretending that it was a bigger deal than it was. Because I literally, we were standing on the sidewalk watching it. It was like, all right, I've had enough. Like, it just feels like it's getting a little cloudy. And then I drove to ShopRite, and as I pulled into the parking lot at ShopRite, an idiot, just a complete fucking idiot. And I drive very carefully. I'm a pretty defensive driver. I think people who drive offensively are fucking morons. It's the dumbest thing in the world that you can do is drive aggressively. Like, literally, it's not a badass thing. It's not a macho thing. It's like, hey, one little fuck up and you're costing all of us a lot of money. Like, really, that's what we need to think of when idiots who like to like swerving in and out of lanes in slow moving traffic is a big one that a lot of dumbasses do around here. It's not cool. You're not badass for doing it. You're just coming really close to costing all of us a lot of money. So it's unnecessary. So I drive reasonably defensively, and around here you really have to. Highest insurance rates in the nation, or among them at least, in the Hudson County area. And I'm pulling into the ShopRite parking lot, and an idiot comes sprinting out. There's the automatic door, and then there's like a little sidewalk, and then there is just an active roadway. Like, it goes from the street, you turn, and you are fucking moving towards that doorway. So there's not a lot of stopping distance. And this dumbass in fucking eclipse glasses comes not even running forwards, backpedaling, stumbles off the sidewalk and right in front of my car. I again, moving slowly, I stopped with no problem. But there was another car coming the other way that almost flattened this bitch. And then she like looked around, did this dumbass look around, and then walked over, like stood on the curb by some bushes, and just stood there watching the eclipse as the cars were driving by. And then I'm looking around, and I go to make a turn to where the parking spots are, and there are grown adults with groups of children standing in the middle of the fucking parking lot, like where people drive and back out of spaces and whatnot, staring up at the fucking eclipse. For whatever reason, these geniuses picked a fucking active parking lot in the area with literally the most densely populated area in the country, with the worst drivers in the fucking country. They're like, yeah, what we'll do is we'll fucking stand there staring at the sky and just block this entire fucking thing off. And like, this is a ShopRite that a lot of stupid people shop at. Like, a lot of old people drive themselves there and they shouldn't. And then there are generally a lot of dumbasses in Hudson County. I always say Hudson County, Hoboken, Jersey City, of a lot of, very well-to-do, intelligent people who have high-paying jobs in Manhattan and small business owners and stuff. But you also have a lot of just dumbasses who grew up in Hoboken or Bayonne or North Bergen or Jersey City or whatever, and never left. And like, a lot of those people are like leftovers from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like, they just never fucking left. And they're stupid. They're just they're stupid, and they're slow. And you can usually identify them by like their stained sweatpants, that are like hanging halfway down their ass as they fucking slowly meander down the aisles at ShopRite, or fucking walk down the street smoking a blunt, hurling the N-word at each other, regardless of their own ethnicity, by the way. That's life in Hudson County. So that was the eclipse for me. That was cool. That's how they should teach the eclipse in science class. Teach you about the dumbasses from Hudson County. And yes, I went to Florida last weekend, which was lovely. Flew down Thursday out of LaGuardia. On my way, I should have just taken a fucking Uber out there. In retrospect, I should have, just as soon as I got into Manhattan, taken an Uber. But I picked up a nice bagel with lox and cream cheese in New Jersey on my way in. A nice Hoboken bagel, and then I took the path. And I'd cheebed up a little bit before. I like to get very high before I go to the airport. So I cheebed up a little bit before I got my Uber down to the bagel shop. And I was still kind of high when I got on the PATH train. And I was very, very irritated looking at this. So it's like bench seating on the PATH, and it all goes long ways, like along the wall. The PATH is it's the little subway that runs from New Jersey under the Hudson River right into New York. The MTA, the New York City subway, doesn't run there. So it's the same shit. It's a little bit cleaner, but same concept. It's just a fucking tiny commuter train that runs underground for 5 minutes until you're in and out of the city. But there's this little two-seater. It's like a little love seat, but it's really, I mean, it's made to hold two people back in like the 1990s, because everyone's bigger now. It's really a one person seat, and this was not a packed ride. This was like a ride around. It was like 9 a.m., so it's after the height of the morning rush. So you can kind of find your own spot there. There's this like little old lady sitting on it. I'm like, oh, this is good. Like, this lady, like, I think a lot about seating on public transportation. I was like, oh, this is good. Like, this lady's got her own seat. Good for her. I'm standing there, leaning up against, they have like the pole there, and I'm holding on to my bags. I'm like, all is right on the PATH. I'm very, very happy with the way everyone's seated. I have a rule. My personal rule is, you do not, unless it's a jammed train and you have to sit down because there's no room to stand and we need more people to get on the train, so we're taking up every available spot because it's busy. If that is not the case, you do not sit directly down next to anybody on public transportation. Unless forced to, you do not sit down right next to anyone on mass transit. If you get on and there's space to stand, but the only seats are thigh to thigh right next to somebody, then you are standing. That is the rule. That should be the rule. It should be enforced. I don't know why it's not. There is something very weird if you can't stand for 10 minutes on the bus or the train to avoid creating this situation where two complete strangers are now just fucking sitting thigh to thigh directly in each other's personal space. It is the most unnecessary thing in the world. We need to quit being lazy fucks and just fucking stand. And I stand. I stand. If I get on, it's empty. I take a seat. Good for me. The day is mine. If I get on, seats are mostly taken. Can't sit down without going thigh to thigh with some poor chick commuting into class at FIT. I stand. Gentlemen. Some dickhead in like a fucking, it looked like he was well dressed going to an office job in the city, about my age, maybe a little younger, comes, sits right down next to her, starts eating up all the fucking space. Just a disgusting display. And the unfortunate thing is that he's, per path regulations, he's well within his right to do so. So we're not, there's nothing we can do about it. We are powerless. It's a law that needs to change. We'll talk about another law that needs to change. It's another governmental change that needs to take place shortly. But more about this Florida trip. So I got after the path, he gets a subway out to Queens, and then there's like a connecting bus. So, like I said, I like to be high when I get to the airport. It's fun because you get high as shit before you go through, before you get there, before you go through security. And then by the time you get, to the flight, because I try to get there with about an hour and a half to kill before boarding, because I like to get a drink and do some people watching. I like to get loose when I fly. Fuck was I say? Oh yeah, so I smoked a full, just fucking took a full big fat J to the face. Fucking high as shit. Hopped on the bus. The bus was crowded and rumbling, so I was like pinned in between German tourists and fucking suitcases, and the bus is fucking speeding. Everyone's just holding onto poles, banging into each other. It's hitting bumps. My heart rate's starting to get a little elevated. I wasn't paranoid at first, but then I started to get a little like, oh shit. And then I looked at the thing and it was like time to LaGuardia. It was like 20 minutes and I had really, really bad cotton mouth. And I started going through all these scenarios in my head where I get to the TSA desk and they ask me, my name or where I'm going or whatever. And I can't talk because I have cotton mouth and I have to explain that I have cotton mouth. And they ask why I have cotton mouth and I have to tell them that I'm high. And then they search my bags and they find all the weed that I was bringing to Florida with me. And the trip just goes off the rails before it even starts. Luckily, I get there and there is a Starbucks before you get to security at LaGuardia. So I was able to grab a water bottle and some gum and kind of freshen up a little bit and pass through security with all of my vacation marijuana intact. Yeah. So then I got on the plane, had a couple beverages, relaxed, got down to Florida. It was Tortuga was going on in Fort Lauderdale, which I guess this is a big country rock and hip hop festival, which if you're at, that is like peak scumbag, the kind of people who are going to Tortuga for a country rock and hip hop festival. That is really an overlapping of, I would say, the biggest scumbags in the coastal South were probably present for that event. I did not go to it, but I'm sure I crossed paths with people who were there because I went out. I went down to see some old Marine Corps friends. My college buddy is I'm godfather to his son, the Godfather. So I would see my godson, and they had a family birthday party going on. But I had Thursday night and afternoon to myself when I got there. So I went down to the MILF Hunter has a bar, a little dive bar. I went there for a drink. And I walk into the bathroom, and it's just pictures of naked chicks adorning the wall. And someone had put a sticker up under one of the naked chicks, and it said Jersey Shore, and it had the Asbury Park symbol. And I was like, this is like a kindred moment. Like I am supposed to be taking a piss in this bathroom right now. Like no one I have never felt like I belonged somewhere more than when I was taking a piss in the MILF Hunter's bathroom, looking at a picture of a woman's breasts next to a sticker that said Jersey Shore. Like that is the only thing that could have made this more of a Mike Montone moment was if this had happened at the Jersey Shore in like a gym bathroom or some shit. But it was great. And then I went around the corner. The Elbow Room is, I guess, one of the places there that a lot of people go to. And I had a beer there. Place fucking, it smelled like vomit, but a lot of fun. Just kind of people watching. I got to people watch vacation drunks in a southern party locale, and I have been a vacation drunk in a southern party locale many times. I spent the from about 15 through early 30s just absolutely blacked the fuck out, and often that was in the coastal southern region of the United States, Myrtle Beach, uh, Jamaica, Cancun, all the good ones, Nolans. So this was the first time that I got to kind of sober take a look at what this was like, and it is just such a fucking show. First of all, I will say the quality of female in Fort Lauderdale, the vacationer, not wonderful. America is not sending its next top models to vacation in Fort Lauderdale. And I guess that's because Miami's right down the road. Fort Lauderdale is really where America's trash goes to vacation. But it was within, quick Uber vicinity of where my friends live. And last time I was down there, I stayed in Pompano, which is nice and it's quiet and relaxing, but it's fucking dead too. A lot of old people. So Fort Lauderdale this time. I went over to the Senor Frogs. Watched. I got a nice margarita and just posted up on against like a banister and just watched guys try to fuck like sunburnt. I don't want to say fat, not like obese, but certainly not in shit. There were no physiques of which to speak. Not a lot of. There weren't like a lot of chicks at these bars who looked like they had been hitting the gym really hard. It was definitely a lot of people in town from flyover country, taking one of their 1 week vacations for the year. That was very much the vibe at the hotel that I stayed at, which, I looked it up online before I went, and online, it's 4 stars, but then you find out that it's more of like a 3.9, 3.8. You get there and it's like, oh yeah, they have a bar and a restaurant inside, and they have a pool with a tiki bar and everything like that. And, I had a king room with a balcony. But then it's like, you kind of going through the hotel and it's like, oh, this was an old hotel or building that they fucking like dressed up. Like it was a lot of like, they just painted over damage and shit. So they kind of gave it as nice an aesthetic as possible. But definitely, and it was like, it was over 300 a night, which is, I feel like, it's a vacation town. So maybe that's not incredibly fucking steep, but if I were to go to Lauderdale again, I would probably upgrade to a 500 a night, a little more gentlemanly of an accommodation. But it did provide for like fun people watching. I did a pool day on Thursday where I hung out, smoked a little weed, lifted some weights in the hotel gym, and then just hung out all day by the beachfront pool, and drank like tiki drinks. I was drinking Miami Vices. If you get a Miami Vice, always have them throw a nice little spiced rum floater in the top. That's a Mikey summer secret. Do that this summer. Had a bunch of great cheeseburgers. Ate a lot of good burgers while I was down there. Some cheeseburgers in paradise. But the physiques around the pool, like I was thinking, like, oh yeah, go down to Florida, probably be some nice titties on display. I mean, it was a goddamn frump fest down there. And I guess again because the Hard Rock is a few miles away, so a lot of people probably staying like at that resort. I mean, not a few miles; it was like 20-minute drive south of Fort Lauderdale. But then there's like South Beach in Miami, and obviously South Beach and Miami are filled with gorgeous women. But I was not blown away by the quality of female in Florida, or the quality of the. I mean, I've been to the beach in Florida a bunch of times. I feel like Florida is a really an overhyped state. I just can't, cool for a couple days, fun, change of pace. It was great. It was raining up here, so it was great to get down, catch some sun, get on the beach. But I'm just not. I don't know. I'm a New Jersey guy. I've been to a lot of different states. San Diego, love San Diego. I get the impression there are probably some places in like Texas that I'd be pretty happy with. I thought New Orleans was awesome. They got those great bands that just go down the street. Marching bands going down the street in the middle of the day. You can dance behind them with a drink. But yeah, no. I'm a New Jerseyan through and through. I did have one very funny interaction on the elevator. The last night that I was there, I went out to the beach, got nice and cheebed up, and I had to have just fucking reeked of weed. I smoked a lot of weed while I was down there. I had a balcony at the hotel, and I was like, "There's no one gives a fuck at this fucking place. Nobody gives a shit." That is the good thing about Florida. You do whatever the fuck you want down there. Nobody cares. So I was smoking on the balcony. I was blazing on the beach. Good fucking time. I get on the elevator, high as shit, and this couple, probably about my age, maybe a couple years younger, gets on with like a bag full of like takeout or whatever. And the chick said something like, or the guy said something like, it smells really good. And the girl said, "Are you talking about the food or the weed?" And as they were getting off on the 4th floor, I was getting off on the 6th. He's like, "No, I meant the food, but the weed smells pretty good too." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty awesome," or something along those lines. I was like, "Yeah, it was good, and your food smells fantastic." And the elevator door opened, and I stepped out on their floor and bid them farewell. And then they got out behind me, and they were like, "Yeah, actually, this is our floor. You need to get back on." So Mikey got fucking baked, which is good. Mikey likes to get baked. A good vacay. I need a couple days off. It has been a fucking stretch. I do too much shit. I have way too much bullshit on my schedule. It was nice to hang out on the beach getting fucking stoned for a few days. There is a new breed of human being that I absolutely despise, and I'm probably gonna. I had some news stories that I wanted to get to here, but I've spent so much time catching up that I may not get to them. I think I'm going to have to cut at around 45 minutes or so today, but maybe I'll get to at least one. New breed of people that I hate. There are guys now taking the bus into the city, and they're storing their scooters underneath the bus and then taking them out and riding them around the city. And, in addition to, I think you're an asshole if you ride one of these things around the fucking city to begin with. They're for douchebags. You don't need them. You don't need them. We have been walking for millennia, walking everywhere. We invented the car, the train, the bus, unnecessarily the bike. We have a lot of idiots on bikes. We didn't need to add scooters to the mix. That we didn't need another little two-wheeled conveyance being operated by uncoordinated dumbasses, but here we are. And now these people are storing them underneath the bus. They're taking them in from the suburbs, and they're riding them around the city, which again it causes multiple problems. Not to mention the fact that it's more people riding them around the city, which we don't need. But what this does, and this type of just ridiculous, selfish behavior, to get your scooter under the bus has to stop, and the underneath of the bus has to be opened so you can put a scooter in there. So you have people, and this hasn't happened on my bus yet, but I noticed it. The Port Authority, if you take the bus in, you get out, and there's a very narrow walkway that takes you to the stairs and the escalators to get down to the main concourse. And during rush hour, there are just buses fucking unloading. Like there is no time to dilly-dally. You gotta be moving, you gotta go, you gotta get to the stairs, get to the elevator, escalator, get the fuck out of there. What these idiots do, they get off the bus, they stand on the walkway, and they open up underneath the bus so they can get their thing out. So they jam up the fucking works, and then they're carrying a fucking scooter under their arm until they get out to the sidewalk. So that, they're just creating massive foot traffic backlogs. You gotta remember, this is rush hour in the morning. People are trying to get in. They have meetings to get to. They have shows to produce. They have secretaries to harass. They have morning shits to take. This is a time for hustle and bustle. It's not a time for you to get your fucking scooter out from under the bus. Walk like everybody else. Take the fucking subway. Take a cab. You don't need the scooters. Oh, look at me. I'm on a scooter. Oh, I'm so smart. It's cutting down on time. I zip about the town. The more saturated we get with these things, the more there are going to be traffic fatalities. I hope I'm not the driver when one inevitably happens. I fucking pray that I'm not. But these things are going to happen. And I preemptively blame these scooter drivers, scooter riders of America for this, because they are to a number unselfish, or selfish and unsafe. The mass transit, I'm obsessed with mass transit. You have to be respectful of others on mass transit. Give people space. Don't be noisy. Don't do what this asshole did. This fucking guy. Stranger stabs 60-year-old man in head with screwdriver on NYC bus over playing drums on his lap. A stranger this is the New York Post, says that a stranger stabbed a guy in the head. He used a screwdriver on a bus in the Bronx earlier this week because the guy was playing drums on his lap. The victim was tapping on his own legs. I guess doing one of these. And the guy probably told him to cut it the fuck out. He stabbed him in the head without warning. Well, I have to say, a warning is probably warranted, but I'm having difficulty finding any fault with this guy who stabbed the guy. I mean, at some point, we're living in a society, and rules there has to be an order that is enforced. And if the government's not going to enforce it, if people are going to be allowed to watch videos without headphones, or this woman the other day on the bus was having a fucking conversation at 5:30 in the morning, and she was doing it. She was crammed in Didn't need to be crammed in or seated. There were seats open at the far end of the bus. She chose to sit thigh to thigh next to someone else on the bus and have a loud phone conversation at 5:30 a.m. while I was trying to read my book a couple seats away. These people need to be stopped. And, again, I don't advocate for vigilante justice, but you do understand when this happens, why it happens, right? Tell me if you were riding a bus and some asshole was drumming on his thighs for, who knows how long. Who knows? Because sometimes you're on that bus if you're on that bus for 15, 20 minutes and this guy's just drumming away the whole time and you're trying to read, an article, you reading the Atlantic or something. I'm sure this guy with the screwdriver is probably reading like the fucking, the Economist, the Wall Street Journal. It's unbearable. It's unbearable. So I totally understand. If I don't support the crime, I certainly understand the impulse, and perhaps this would be a warning shot. Maybe this shot across the brow, this screwdriver across the brow, will be enough to kind of remind people not to engage in such piss poor behavior. Do I have time for maybe I have time for 1-2 more. Where are we? 41. I do have to shower. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I can wrap with these two. Just give it a quick 5 here. Oh yes, this is a public issue that I wanted to address. New York City mom fined for letting 4-year-old pee in park. Absolutely insane. Again, the New York Post reporting. Last Saturday, Machiko Sasaki, 46, and her son Kobe were at Battery Park in the Battery Playscape in Battery Park City. The kid had to go to the bathroom. How old is he? 4 years old. He had to go to the bathroom. But there was a sign on the bathroom that said no bathrooms, and it was locked. And this happens to me all the time when I have to take a piss in the park. I work out in the park. I often have a weighted vest on when I'm doing pull-ups and dips, and that kind of like forces you to have to piss more. So I usually have to piss at some point during my workout. And the parks in my neighborhood, the bathrooms are only open seasonally. And I'm pretty sure that is to prevent homeless guys from just setting up shop in there during the winter, which I understand, but also like we have cops and fucking, parks employees who could be going in and out and fucking taking care of that. But there is often no bathroom to be found. And you gotta be resourceful, which is what this woman did. So she, her kid said, "I'm going to piss in my pants." So she was like, "All right, it's an emergency. Then just fucking good, piss over here in the fucking corner." And they slapped her with a $50 ticket. These fucking park rangers. These power tripping douchebags. One of the officers questioned her parenting choices and motioned at a building where the upscale restaurant The View is located as somewhere she should have gone for a bathroom. Restaurants are not going to let a woman bring a kid in to go to the bathroom. An upscale restaurant is going to tell you to fuck off. That's no restaurant is because if people find out that a restaurant in New York City is allowing pedestrians to come in and use the bathroom, it will be over fucking whelmed with people going in there to go to the bathroom, because that will wind up on every fucking TripAdvisor and little blog. By the way, if you're looking for a bathroom near Battery Park, check out the View restaurant. That will get out so fast. Yeah. Restrooms for customers only, right? This was Starbucks' downfall. They let everyone start using the bathroom. This is if parks do not want people pissing all over them, then you got to have bathrooms. Like that's it. You need public bathrooms are like the most fucking needed thing in the world. As a guy, I walk around a lot and I hydrate a lot, and I also jerk off quite a bit, which makes you have to piss even more. So usually within like 10 minutes of leaving my apartment, because walking around kind of jostles it out. Even I always make sure that I piss, wait a couple minutes, and then squeeze out anything else before I finally leave the house. Even then, 10 minutes into the walk, I'm usually like, oh, yeah, I got to take a whiz. And when I do, it's a reasonably robust one. Like, it's not like one of those, like a phantom piss when you just get like a nervous bladder. It's usually a pretty big piss. Like, again, I drink a lot of water, you got to piss. You eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you get a lot of water through that. You got to piss. In a little while, I'm going to have to piss. So we need public bathrooms. I have so many spots around Jersey City and Hoboken, like bushes and corners and fucking dumpsters and shit that I've figured out. Like, oh, you can kind of safely piss here. Like I have so many techniques for urinating in public without getting caught. It's not even funny. What I would like is an abundance of public bathrooms. Hoboken's got a couple. There are a few you can find down there. I know I get a few good spots. When in doubt, you get to the train station up there by the waterfront. That there's always a bathroom there. ShopRite's got one. But otherwise, it's tough. You're walking around. People got to piss. People have got to piss. And it's ridiculous that the homeless are shitting and pissing all over the place. They're not getting ticketed. Dogs, people are walking their dogs. Those things are fucking shitting and pissing all over the goddamn place. That's fun. No one's complaining about that. But this 4-year-old is forced to endure a painful bladder, and his mother is fined $50 because the city of New York can't get a functioning fucking bathroom. New York City. We can give migrants preloaded debit cards. We can't find a place for a 4-year-old boy to take a piss. Okay. I'll save this Morgan Wallen stuff for next week. I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I gotta hop in the shower and get to this gathering, get to the party, folks. Hopefully live next weekend. I would like to be on here so I can mingle with the comment section. Otherwise, Twitter at Mike Montone, Instagram at Gary_Moyler, Moyler. And of course, the YouTube channel, Mike's Golden Streams, or just look for Sacktap Live on YouTube. And I will catch y'all next.